All right, this video is for Jake Boniface. I hope you're watching. 9-6, secants, tangents, angle measures. Here we go. I'm going to draw a picture at the top here, and it is, I'm going to like demonstrate for you what a secant and a tangent are. We've talked about these before. This is a tangent line. He's touching in only one spot. This is a tangent. And then this right here is going through at two places, so this is a secant line. We're going to talk about these intersecting today. Okay, unfuzzy, come on. Secant, okay, touching two places, so it's kind of like a cord that's extended. A tangent line is just touching at one place, okay? Yesterday we talked about, not yesterday, the day before, talked about tangents, like a circle that are intersecting like here and intersecting like here, doing that, right? And it's making an ice cream cone. Those are two tangent lines that are touching each other. Outside here, it's making an angle, and what's true about that little ice cream coney thing? Do you remember? It's like a birthday hat, right? But these two like little sides of it are equal, okay? So that's special about tangent lines. Now we're going to talk about secant lines that are intersecting, that type of thing, okay? So the first thing that it has us look at is this guy right here, okay? I'm going to draw a separate picture, and I'm going to talk about what we know to be true. Let's say here is the center, okay? And it's very important that this guy is the center of the circle, right? And I'm going to go across this way and across this way, and I'm going to say that this arc right here, you don't have to draw this if you don't want to. This arc right here is 60 degrees, and this arc right here is also 60 degrees, right? Those look exactly the same if it's crossing in the middle. This angle and this angle we know are the same. Why do we know that those are the same, by the way?
Because of the, I don't remember
what are those called?
The
vertical angles. These are vertical angles. So we know that those are the same, and they're both 60 degrees, right? 60 and 60. But here's the problem. We're going to start looking at stuff like this, where these two are intersecting, and this is not the center. Do you see how that's not center?
Yes.
That's not the center of the circle, okay? So let's say that this arc right here is 60 degrees, but is this one also 60?
No.
Clearly not. It's smaller, right? Let's say that this is 40 degrees. But the problem is these two angles in the middle here are still going to be the same. They're still vertical angles, but which one are they? Are they 60 or 40?
Yeah. Neither.
That's neither. But how do we find what they are?
No clue. You guess. The middle. 50.
It's the average of the two, right? So you add these two together. You would take 40 and 60 and add them together and divide by 2. It's like finding the average. You're averaging the two sides out. 40 plus 60 divided by 2 is 50 degrees. That's what each one of these little arcs are going to be. 50 degrees, 50 degrees. Yeah? Okay? Now, in a sense, we do that on this other one, right? Like this one over here is the same concept. These two sides added together divided by 2 is still just 60, right? Okay? But we don't even think about taking the average of the two sides. It's just that they're the same, right? So the average of the 60s is 60, okay? So that's the deal, is that you're finding the average of the two sides, okay? So let's go down here and let's go to A, and they're asking for X, which is this angle right here, and they say 84, 130, easy peasy, add them together, divide by 2.
Is a number.
84 and 130 is 214, I think. 214 divided by 2 is 107 degrees, I think. 107 degrees. That's what that is. Okay? Now they're going to get a little harder because look at B. B is saying this is 143 degrees. This is 75 degrees. We would add them, divide by 2 to get this angle or this angle, but they're not asking for that one.
But you still have to do that, don't you, to find?
Yeah, we can do that. We can certainly do that. We can add those together. So 143 plus 75 divided by 2. 143 and 75 is 218. So divided by 2, that is 109. So this is 109 degrees, and this is 109 degrees. How do I figure out what X is? Subtract from what?
180 minus 109.
This is on a straight line right here. So this angle and this angle have to add up to be 180. So this is 71 degrees, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, the first period class did that a way, way different way. Half of them did it this way. Half of them did it some other way. You want me to show you the other way? I'm going to erase. Ready? Okay, so I'm going to erase. And they said, okay, this guy right here plus this guy right here, that's 218 degrees. And if we subtract that from 360, that is 1 what did we say? No. 142. Yeah, 142. So that means that this and this added together is 142. Divide that by 2 and you get this.
Yeah, I thought that way.
You can do it that way too. So you can either divide by 2 and subtract from 180 or subtract from 360 and then divide by 2. It doesn't matter. Okay? So they will both, and that will always be the case. Like you can do it either way no matter what. It all makes sense. Okay? C is a little bit harder even yet because now they're giving you this inside angle is 110, each one of those. And then when you find the arc right here. Okay, they say that that's 97. What's the other one? How do we do that?
110 equals 97 plus x over 2.
Okay, okay. So we would take x and we would add to 97. X plus 97 divided by 2 will be equal to 110, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then we multiply by 2 times 2 times 2. X plus 97 equals 220, and then we subtract 97, which is like 123, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's 123 degrees. How did you do it?
I took 110 times 2 and then just minus 97.
Yeah, that's exactly. So you did this whole process that we did, just in your head. That's exactly right. Yes, 100%. That's perfect. Yeah, and that just makes sense. Like Haley's able to figure it out in her head. That's it. Go for it. Okay. But if you're one of those people who has to write it out, like me, I have to write it out. That's what it looks like. Okay. So anyway, that's when you're solving for one of the outsides. Just fill it in the formula just like you would normally do, and then solve from there. Okay. Like unwind it. Okay. Good. All right. Next concept. So this is concept number 2, and here is this. Okay. So we have a line right here. What's this guy called? That's a secant, okay, and this guy is a tangent, okay? We have a secant and a tangent that are intersecting each other, okay? And now we have this guy is an arc, and let's say that this arc is 200 degrees. I don't know, 200 degrees, okay? And then we have this arc on the other side of it. It's like splits, not in half, but like one section and the other section. How many degrees would this be? 160, okay? Now, here's what they're asking for. They're saying if we have this line and this line, they're cutting each other, what would be the measure of angle 2? Okay, like that's the arc, that's 200 degrees, but what's the measure of that angle 2? Is that also 200 degrees?
No, it'd be 180.
Question mark?
It'd be, wait. No.
Is it 200?
It'd be 100.
Would it just be 100?
Because they have to be up to 180. Yeah,
So do you see what we're referring to? Like this arc right here that's intercepted by those two lines is 200. Like how can we figure out what that angle is?
I mean, half of 200 is 100. Half of 160 is 80.
Aha, so this is what Evan said. Okay, he said, yeah, that fits together because if you do half of 200, this would be 100, and half of 160 is 80. And what do those two have to add together to be? 180, right? So the deal is that you're just splitting them in half because look at what we're going from. We're going from a circle, which is 360 degrees, reduced down to a line, which is 180 degrees, right? So we have to just divide by 2 because circle to line is 180, or is dividing by 2, okay? So this one is just dividing by 2. So let's go to this right here. And they are saying that the arc here is 148. So that's from here to here. And they're wanting us to find the measure of the angle QPR. QPR is this angle right here. 74. We just divide by 2, right? 74 degrees. Not too bad. Okay. To part B. Part B is saying find the measure of DEF. DEF is this backside right here. Okay, now 64 is this angle right there, right? Okay, so we can do this a couple different ways, right? Like if I extend this line on out, right? Erica just said 116, but what is 116? From there to there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 116 is from there to there, but then the arc would be double that. 232, okay? Or 60, you did 64 and you doubled 64 to get 128, right? 128. And then if you take 128 and subtract it from 360, guess what you get? 232. So you can do it many different ways, whichever direction you want to go. Okay? Jake, if you're watching this, we're going to ask you tomorrow. The magic word is graduation. The magic word is graduation. We're trying to see if you're actually watching this video. So we'll see. Graduation. We're going to ask you tomorrow what the magic word is. Graduation. There you go. Okay. Backside. Last concept. Okay. I'm going to do circles at the top here. And we have 3 concepts that we just got done doing. So here we go. 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circles. Okay. First circle. First circle. You don't have to draw these out if you don't want to. But first circle. If we're trying to find this angle, and this is what we're trying to find, and they give us these 2 arcs, what do we do? That was the first concept. What do we do? What do we do with that? You what? What divide by 2?
No.
Add divide by 2. So we add them together and then divide by 2. So that's an add divide by 2, okay? If we have a secant line here and a tangent line here, and we have, like, let's say this arc, how do we find this angle? That's just divide by 2. Like, we don't add, we just divide that angle by 2, okay? Now, here's the last concept. Ready? I have a secant line here, and I have another secant line here, okay? And they will tell me what this arc is. Let's say that this arc is 100 degrees, and let's say that this arc is 50 degrees, and I want to find the measure of this angle. Okay, here they were intersecting inside, so I add them and I find the average, and I add them up and divide by 2. Here I just divide by 2. Here they're touching outside. The angle here is outside of the circle. How do I do that?
25.
You bet it's 25. How did you get that?
Divide by 2 again. Just divide by 2 again.
No.
That's how you got that.
No. Well, kind of. I should have used different. Let's do this instead. I should have used different numbers because that's like a really bad coincidence. Let's say that this is 60. Now what does that measure?
No idea.
I used bad numbers.
Like 20.
How did you get that? That's exactly right. How did you get it?
Subtract.
Subtract and divide by 2. Okay, what are you subtracting?
160.
100 minus 60 divided by 2 is 40 divided by 2, which is 20 degrees. So when the angle is on the outside of the circle, you're subtracting divided by 2. When the angle is on the inside of the circle, you add and divide by 2. When the angle right here, the vertex, is on the edge of the circle, you just divide by 2. There's no adding, subtracting. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are the rules of what you're doing. All right, let's go down here to example 3. Okay, this one's really hard. They're wanting us to find angle L. Okay, and the only thing that we have labeled is 102 degrees. Okay, what is 102 like pointing to? Do we know? KH. It's like this arc right here. This little bit right there. That's KH. That's 102 right there. Okay, so is this an add divide by 2, a subtract divide by 2, or just divide by 2? Subtract, but what are we subtracting?
102 from the rest.
Like this is what we need to know, right?
It's 360.
So 360 minus 102, first of all, is 258. What?
Then I said if you do 360 minus 204, then you just get your answer. Instead of subtracting from 258 again.
I don't think that works.
Or you can find
But then you're subtracting it again.
What do you
If
mean?
you're subtracting the same number.
But you're not subtracting it from 360, you're subtracting it from 258. You're taking 258 minus 102.
Subtract it from 360, so just do it twice. So 204.
So you're taking 360 minus 204?
Minus 204 equals
Yeah.
156. 258 minus 156 is the same thing.
But then you still have to divide by 2.
True, but.
Okay, that might work then. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really lost as to what you're doing, but if it makes sense to you, then you just do it.
Instead of just like subtracting.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. That makes sense.
Instead of
That makes sense.
Subtracting twice, just.
Right. You just subtract it once but double. Got it. Okay. That does not make any sense to me. Like it does now. I get it. Whatever. But that's not the way that I would do it. Okay. So 258 is that top arc. If you want to do it that way, you go right ahead.
Okay.
If your brain works that way, mine. Woo, that was over my head a little bit. All right. 258 is this big arc. The 102 is the smaller one. So If you want to do it a different way, you can, but here's the normal way. The normal way. The non-weird way. 258 minus 102 is 146 divided by 2, so 73 degrees. Yeah, you can, yeah. Okay, there we go.
Wait, is it 156 or 146?
56. Wait a second. So it's not 73 degrees. It is 78 degrees. Correct?
I know, right?
258 minus 102 is 156. Yes, divided by 278. Thank you. There we go. Okay, good. Now they're trying to trick us again because they're giving us what we usually try to find. They're giving us this 56 degrees. Eee! We need to find CD. Let's give CD a name. What should we call it? X. Sure. Okay, what would we normally do? Like, how would we normally set this up? Subtract them. So what minus what? But, okay, so
Oh, wait, we can't do that.
yeah, that doesn't work in this case because we have this little bit up here and we don't know what that is. So,
it would be x minus
95 over 2.
X minus 95 divided by 2 equals 56. That's what we know is, okay? Now we have to work this one backwards. So, multiply by 2, so that makes it go away, times 2 times 2. So x minus 95 is equal to 112, I think. And then add the 95. And x equals 207 degrees. Yep, very nice. Okay? All right, last one, story problem. Kind of story problem. They're talking about refracting light through a droplet of water. So here's my droplet of water, and they give me some information. They say the measure of arc AC, which is this guy on this side, is 128. They say the measure of XBY. Do you see where XBY lives? XBY is this one right here, and that's 84. They want us to find this angle right here. So do we add, divide by 2, subtract, divide by 2, or just divide by 2?
1 second.
Subtract, divide by 2, because the angle is on the outside. So, what are you subtracting?
128 minus. Whoa, wait.
No, that's right.
I was right.
128 minus 84 over 2. 128 minus 84 is 44 divided by 2. So 22 degrees, I believe, is what angle D is. Yeah, makes sense?
Sure.
Okay? All right. So this bottom part right here is just the summary of what we did. So on the circle, you're just dividing by 2. So if the vertex is on the circle, like here, the vertex is touching, you're just dividing by 2. Okay? Inside the circle, when you have like this arc and this arc, you're finding the average of them, which means add and divide by 2. Okay? When the angle is on the outside of the
I
circle,
don't know why it's so bendy.
that's when you're subtracting and divide by 2.
Oh.
Subtract, divide by 2. Okay, good?
What's the top box say?
Yeah.
Just divide by 2. Yep, it's nothing but just divide by 2.
You put your biology
Okay,
on.
good? All right,
Also,
skills practice is odds. Skills practice is odds. You're going to get stuck on number 11 probably.
Most likely.
Well, I
You will, because it's a difficult
And
one.
the other one's even.
Yeah,
And
but
the
I
other
like
one is
it.
evens, and number 8 is going to be the doozy. Okay? All right, good? So odds on skills, evens on practice. Good? All right, everybody say bye, Jake.